Right. So have you ever felt like you're just one good idea away from, launching that dream startup?
Hmm. Totally.
We're going to unpack some serious wisdom here.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurial wisdom that's helped, countless others launch their startups.
You sure?
And we've got excerpts from this guide. It's all about like cultivating the mindset
Yeah.
to spot opportunities that everyone else misses.
Finding those hidden gems.
It's not just about having an idea, it's
Right.
about having the right kind of idea.
Exactly.
They're going to give you the tools to find it.
I think what I found really insightful in this guide was how it really kind of debunks that myth of the eureka moment.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It emphasizes that, those successful startups,
Mm-hmm.
they aren't built on those random bursts of genius.
Right.
It's really about having a deep understanding of real-world problems.
Yeah, they hammer home that problem first, idea second philosophy.
Yes.
It's like hold the applause for that fancy new app
Right.
until you figure out whose life it's going to make easier. Right.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So it's not about building, cool technology. It's about solving a problem.
Precisely. And they use Airbnb as the perfect example.
Right. Oh, yeah. Perfect example.
It's easy to look back and think like,
Uh-huh.
of course, a platform for short-term rentals, brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
But the real genius was in how they identified those nuances
Yeah.
of what travelers were struggling with.
Right.
It wasn't just about finding a place to crash.
Yeah.
It was about the experience.
Mm-hmm.
People craved those unique places to stay.
Right.
They hated the inflexibility of hotels.
For sure.
And the whole process felt so impersonal.
Yes.
Airbnb tapped into that.
Yeah.
That's what made them explode.
See, that's what I love about digging into these guides.
Yeah.
You get past that surface level success story.
Right.
You see that strategic thinking underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you wonder,
Yeah.
what seemingly minor annoyance in your life
Yeah.
could be a gold mine. Maybe the next billion-dollar idea is hiding in plain sight.
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
This guide lays out 5 strategies for generating these problem-first ideas.
Okay.
It's not just about waiting for that inspiration to strike.
Right.
It's about actively cultivating it.
Okay. So let's break them down.
Let's do it.
Strategy number 1, all about identifying your own personal pain points.
Yes.
They use Dropbox as an example.
Right. The founder was constantly frustrated with file sharing. He's like, enough is enough. There have to be a better way.
It's like he scratched his own itch.
Exactly.
And ended up solving it for millions of people.
For millions of people.
But it's about more than just complaining about things that bug you.
Yeah.
It's about that entrepreneur mindset that this
Yes.
guide keeps emphasizing.
It is.
It's about being curious and saying, why is this so difficult?
Yeah.
How can this be better?
Asking the right questions.
Right.
What if?
Exactly.
So it's like channeling your inner Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. But for startup ideas instead of crimes,
I love that.
I'm picturing myself with a magnifying glass examining my morning commute. Haha.
That's great.
Speaking of trends,
Okay.
that brings us to strategy number 2, observing what's happening in different industries.
Yeah,
Zoom and Slack are poster children for this one, right?
absolutely. They saw that shift toward remote work before it was even a thing and rode that wave to massive success.
They didn't invent remote work,
Right.
but they recognized the need for tools to make it seamless and productive.
Exactly. This strategy is all about connecting the dots.
Yeah.
What emerging technologies or societal shifts are happening right now that are creating new needs and challenges.
Okay. I'm already feeling my brain gears turning.
Good.
Let's say you're deep in a certain field like finance or healthcare.
Okay.
Strategy number 3 suggests leveraging your existing skills and knowledge to spot opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've got this insider perspective that most people don't.
Okay.
You understand the pain points,
Uh-huh.
the inefficiencies, the things that everyone in the industry just accepts as the way it is.
Right.
But you can see the potential for disruption,
Yeah.
for innovation.
Yeah.
Think of all the fintech startups
Mm-hmm.
founded by people who worked in traditional finance
Right.
and saw a better way to do things.
So play to your strengths.
Exactly.
If you've spent years in marketing,
Yeah.
maybe the next great social media platform is brewing in your brain.
It could be.
All right, strategy number 4 is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Adapt existing models.
Love it.
Uber and Bumble are great examples.
Yes.
Neither one invented ride-sharing or dating apps,
Mm-hmm.
but they put a unique spin on them that resonated with people.
It's a brilliant approach because you're not starting from scratch.
Right.
You're taking something that's already proven to work
Uh-huh.
and finding a way to make it better,
Yeah.
more efficient.
Mm.
or more appealing to a specific audience.
Right.
Think about it. Uber took a service
Yeah.
that used to be exclusive and made it accessible to everyone.
Totally.
Bumble flipped the script on who has the power in the dating world.
Mm.
It's about identifying those subtle but powerful tweaks that make all the difference.
It makes me think about all those Uber for X companies that popped up a few years ago. Some were brilliant, some not so much.
Right.
But it highlights the power of taking a proven model and applying it to a new problem or market.
Exactly.
Okay, final strategy, user discovery.
Okay.
This one's all about getting out of your own head
Yes.
and into the minds of your potential customers.
This is where a lot of entrepreneurs trip up. They fall in love with their own idea.
Right.
And they forget to ask the most important question,
Right.
which is, do people actually want this?
Yeah.
Slack is a great example of how user discovery can lead to unexpected success. They started as an internal communication tool for a gaming company and only realized its broader potential when they saw how enthusiastically people were using it.
So it's like, don't assume you know what people want.
Yeah.
Ask them.
Ask them.
Get out there, talk to your target audience.
For sure.
Observe how they're currently solving a problem you're targeting.
Exactly.
Find out what's frustrating them, what features they crave,
Yes.
and then use that feedback to shape your solution.
That's it.
Makes total sense.
It does.
But once you've got a killer idea, how do you know if it's actually going to fly?
Right.
I guess that's where validation comes in.
That's where validation comes in.
Yeah.
This is where things get real. You've brainstormed, you've got your notebook full of potential startup ideas.
Right.
But now it's time to separate the wheat from the chaff. Validation is all about putting those ideas to the test before you pour your heart and soul and life savings into them.
Yeah, because as exciting as it is to dream big,
Right.
nobody wants to end up with a product that's gathering dust in a warehouse somewhere.
Exactly.
How do we avoid that fate?
Right.
The guide dives into this concept of a minimum viable product, or an MVP. Can you break that down for us?
An MVP is like a sneak peek of your product, a stripped-down version that allows you to test your core assumptions without building the entire thing. Think of it as a low-risk way to get feedback and validate your idea before investing a ton of time and money.
Okay, I'm getting lean startup vibes here.
Yes.
And I like it.
Good.
They use Zappos as an example,
Yep.
which I think is brilliant.
It is a great example.
They started by literally buying shoes from other stores
Wow.
and shipping them to customers who ordered through their website.
I mean, talk about scrappy.
Talk about scrappy.
They didn't even have their own inventory at first.
Right.
It proves you don't need a fancy, fully featured product to start validating your idea.
And what's great is this guide goes beyond just like explaining what an MVP is.
Right.
It delves into the different types of MVPs you can use,
Yes.
each with its own advantages and disadvantages.
Exactly.
A concierge MVP, like the Zappos example, is all about manually delivering the service to test demand.
You're essentially acting as the wizard behind the curtain,
Right.
doing things manually to provide that core value proposition.
So if you're building a meal planning app, you might start by personally creating meal plans for a handful of beta users.
Exactly.
It's hands-on, but it gives you direct insight into what people actually need and are willing to pay for.
That's the key.
And then there's the Wizard of Oz MVP,
Oh, yeah.
which sounds super cool.
Very cool.
This is where you simulate complex functionality that doesn't exist yet.
Right, like those early chatbots that were actually powered by humans behind the scenes.
Oh, I love that.
You're creating the illusion of a fully functional product.
Right.
To gauge interest and gather feedback.
It's like those old-timey movies where they make it look like someone's singing live, but it's actually a recording.
Exactly.
Clever.
So clever.
Okay, so we've built our MVP. We're out there in the world.
All right.
What's next?
What's next?
The guide talks about using surveys and interviews to get direct feedback right.
This is where you go straight to the source.
Okay.
Surveys are great for gathering quantitative data, like how many people would be interested in your product or what features they value the most.
Right.
You can use tools like Google Forms Typeform or SurveyMonkey to easily create and send out surveys.
And interviews are perfect for those deep dives into the why behind people's answers.
Yes. You can ask open-ended questions.
Okay.
Like, what's your biggest frustration with X? Or what would make your life easier when it comes to Y? And really get into their heads.
Right. And the guide stresses the importance of asking the right questions.
Yes.
Don't just ask, would you use this product?
No.
Ask, how would you use this product?
Exactly.
What problems would it solve for you?
Yes.
You want to uncover those unmet needs and desires that people might not even be consciously aware of.
That's the key.
It's like you're an investigator piecing together clues to solve the mystery of what people actually want.
I love that analogy.
Okay, so we're sending out surveys, we're having coffee chats with potential customers, we're swimming in data.
Yeah.
What's the final step in this validation journey?
Okay, so the guide mentions something called a smoke test. Using landing pages and pre-sales. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, break that down for me.
A smoke test is a way to gauge market demand.
Okay.
Before you fully commit to building your product. You create a simple landing page that explains your product and its benefits, includes some compelling visuals, and most importantly, has a clear call to action.
Like signing up for a wait list, pre-ordering the product, or downloading a free trial.
Those are all great examples.
And by tracking how many people take that action, you get a sense of the level of interest in your idea.
Right. It's like dipping your toes in the water before jumping in head first. You're not asking people for money necessarily.
Right.
But you're seeing if they're willing to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested.
I love this approach because it's all about minimizing risk.
It is.
You're not spending months developing a full-blown product only to find out nobody wants it.
Nobody wants to do that.
But this whole validation process requires more than just tools and strategies, right?
Absolutely.
The guide talks a lot about cultivating the right mindset for entrepreneurial success.
Because even with the best validation techniques,
you're
going to face challenges and setbacks. That's where that entrepreneur mindset comes in.
Right.
It's about being adaptable, resilient, and embracing the unknown.
So it's not just about having a great idea.
Right.
It's about having the mental fortitude to see it through.
Yes. This guide highlights two key qualities.
Okay.
Curiosity and an open mind. I can definitely see how those would be crucial in the startup world.
Curiosity is all about being a lifelong learner, constantly asking questions.
Yes.
And exploring new ideas.
The more you expose yourself to different perspectives and ways of thinking, the more likely you are to spot those hidden opportunities that others miss.
It makes me think about that Steve Jobs quote.
Oh, yeah.
Where he talks about how taking a calligraphy class seemingly had nothing to do with computers, but ended up influencing the design of the Macintosh.
That's a great example.
It's about connecting those unexpected dots.
Exactly. And that's where an open mind comes in.
Right.
Being open to feedback, to pivoting your idea, to admitting you were wrong.
Okay.
The guide uses Instagram as a perfect example of this.
Oh, yeah.
They started as a location-based social app.
Right.
But pivoted to focus solely on photo sharing when they saw how people were actually using it.
That's a classic example of how being flexible and willing to change course can lead to massive success.
You have to be willing to let go of your initial vision if the data is telling you something different.
And the guide emphasizes that this iterative process is not a sign of failure.
It's not.
It's a sign of learning and growth.
It is.
The most successful startups rarely start out exactly as they end up.
So true.
It's a constant journey.
It is.
Of experimentation, adaptation, and refinement. So to recap, we've got our MVP.
We do.
We're gathering feedback from potential customers.
Yes.
And we're cultivating that all-important entrepreneur mindset.
We are.
But where do we go from here?
That's the question.
What's the next step in this startup journey?
Right.
I guess that's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Let's do it. You know, it feels like we've been handed this incredible toolkit.
I know, right?
For not just finding great startup ideas, but for navigating that whole entrepreneurial journey.
Right.
What strikes me is how this guide reframes the way we think about innovation.
Yeah.
It's not about waiting for that lightning bolt of inspiration.
Right.
It's about actively cultivating an environment where brilliant ideas can flourish.
Yeah, totally. It's like we've gone from passively hoping for a lucky break to having this step-by-step process for uncovering those hidden gems.
Right.
We've learned to identify problems worth solving, test our assumptions before going all in,
Yes.
and most importantly, adopt a mindset that embraces curiosity and flexibility.
I love that.
But I'm still wondering what happens after that initial validation phase.
Okay.
Let's say the smoke test went well. People are clamoring for your product. What's next?
That's where the real work begins.
Okay.
Validation is just the first step. The next phase is all about building a solid foundation for your business.
Okay.
Think of it as transitioning from that scrappy MVP
Right.
to a more robust product that can scale and meet the demands of a growing customer base.
Okay, so it's time to ditch the duct tape and cardboard.
Yeah.
And start building something more substantial, right?
Right. But that requires a whole new set of skills and expertise. You hit on a key point that this guide touches on.
Okay.
Building a strong team.
Yeah.
As your startup grows,
Right.
you'll need to surround yourself with people who complement your strengths and fill those gaps in your skill set.
Okay.
This might involve bringing on co-founders,
Right.
hiring employees, or partnering with experts in different areas.
So it's like assembling a superhero team.
Yes.
Each with their unique superpowers.
I love it.
Ready to tackle the challenges of building a successful company.
Absolutely.
But even with the best team in the world, isn't starting a business inherently risky?
It is.
What if things don't go as planned?
Right.
What if the market shifts?
Yeah.
Or a competitor comes along with a better product?
That's where the entrepreneur mindset we talked about earlier really comes into play.
Okay.
Building a startup is a roller coaster ride. Filled with ups and downs, unexpected twists, and moments where you have to make tough decisions with limited information.
Okay.
It's about being comfortable with ambiguity, being able to adapt quickly, and learning from your mistakes.
I'm starting to realize that this mindset is just as important as the actual idea itself.
It is.
It's what separates those who give up at the first sign of trouble from those who persevere and ultimately succeed.
And this guide offers some great advice on how to cultivate that resilience.
Okay.
It emphasizes the importance of building a strong support network, seeking out mentors who've been there before, and celebrating even the small wins along the way.
Because, let's be honest, building a company from scratch can be incredibly challenging.
It can.
And isolating at times.
It can.
It's like running a marathon. You need those cheerleaders on the sidelines to keep you motivated.
Yes.
And remind you why you started in the first place.
Exactly. And remember, the journey is just as important as the destination. Embrace the challenges, the learning experiences, even the failures. They're all part of what makes building a startup so rewarding.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this incredible guide, I'm feeling a mix of excitement and a healthy dose of reality.
It's a good mix.
It's clear that finding a great startup idea is just the tip of the iceberg.
For sure.
But armed with the strategies, insights, and mindset we've discussed, I'm feeling more equipped than ever to take on that challenge.
That's great to hear.
And remember, you don't have to have all the answers right now.
You don't.
Start by identifying a problem that resonates with you. Use the strategies we discussed to generate ideas. And then test those ideas rigorously.
Yes.
The rest will unfold as you go.
It will.
It's about taking that first step, putting yourself out there, and embracing the adventure.
I love it.
Who knows, maybe the next Airbnb or Slack is just waiting to be discovered.
Nice. So.
And if I can leave you with one final thought.
Please do.
It's this: don't underestimate the power of your own unique perspective.
Such an important point.
The world needs your ideas.
Yes.
Your creativity, your passion. So go out there and make them happen.
That's a great note to end on.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.